Hello, friends. Welcome inside, at least for me, just now. For now. In a few seconds, Brad Logan's going to join me. All kind of technical difficulties to start Talking Champions on this Tuesday, April 21st, 2026. I already see the comments. How are the commenters? How are the listeners on time more often than us, the hosts? It's a great question. I can just simply say we're both getting old, and both being me and Brad Logan. Hey, Brad, how you doing over there?
Doing well. Is audio any better, Ben?
He's so low. I can hear you faintly.
Yeah, chat. Tell us how I'm coming through. I'm having so many problems with my computer.
He really is. Hope you're having a great night too, CJ. Ole Miss fan 198824 says happy Tuesday to me. Only me. Not to Brad yet because he's got to get his audio fixed. Now you look like you're about to shove your mic down your throat. Let's see how that sounds.
I have to get it right up on it. I'm just having so much trouble. But, man, we have a ton to get to tonight. Remember, Ole Miss is playing baseball tonight. But we did have, well, we won't go into that, CJ. But we'll go into the Pete Golding press conference today, and there was plenty of audio today.
There was plenty, and I feel like I can barely, like we need to speak in very whispered tones, like we're now a part of NPR, so that I don't come across as the loudmouth idiot just yelling into the microphone while Brad so eloquently sits back and tries to make his audio sound better. Let's see if it works. Hey, Brad, how are you?
Hey, Ben, how are we?
Still the same. It's still the same. This is Talk of Champions. I'm Ben Garrett. He's Brad Logan. If you haven't already, subscribe, rate, review Talk of Champions wherever you get your podcast. It doesn't matter if it's Spotify. Doesn't matter if it's Apple Music. Wherever you get your podcast, just simply search for Talk of Champions and say whatever you want, but leave a 5-star review. Also, that QR code above Silent Brad's head, not Silent Bob. That would make me Jay in this scenario, but Sudu's not here. He'll be here in a second. That QR code above Silent Brad's head is for the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com. And affiliate of On 3, if you sign up today as a new member, you get half off an annual subscription. That means what is typically like $120 is $50. So more than 50% off. That's the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com, and affiliate of On 3. At Gary Roscoe 4999 says, happy Tuesday, Brad. Let's see if Brad's got anything more than a faint whisper.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the show tonight. Oh.
What have you done? What have you done?
I've rebooted. I'm sorry, everybody.
I tell you what you got to do. You got to get one of those fancy like travel mics that you usually hang around with. Clip that thing to your collar, all right, and connect that way and disconnect from the mic in front of you.
Okay, take me off. I'm going to try that.
All right, he's going to try that while we get that sorted out with Brad. So that's what took us so long to start. I thought it was me. I blame myself because I just got off of not vacation, but taking the family down to Orange Beach because Riley, the youngest, there she is. There she is. My youngest, my sweet buggies. She and the Tallahatchie Hotshots from just down the road here in Inglemoor, Mississippi, just outside of the New Albany city limits, finished first at Beach Nationals, and I'm so proud of them. And it was really fun. It was really exciting. That was their first place finish at Nationals, which means something. I did my best, did my part as the loudmouth idiot dad trying to sway the judges, offering money. They didn't take it. But that's where all of that, where all of my inactivity, especially when it comes to this right here, that's where it came from. I was at the beach. We're waiting on Brad to come back in. Congrats, says Ben Sane Clown Posse. Thank you, my friend. You can find Ben Sane Clown Posse at the Ole Miss Spirit too, OMSpirit.com, and affiliate on 3. My friend Mary says congratulations. Ole Miss fan 198824 says, hoping you had a good time. Love Orange Beach. It's great. It's absolutely great. There's a lot that I missed. Let's see if Brad can sound better. Uh-oh.
How about this? Any better?
The echoing. I hear myself.
Okay, let me try this. How about this?
Okay, here we go.
No, not better.
What are we going to do with you, Brad?
I don't know. I'm not sure what else to do. I've got one more thing I'm going to try. Carry on.
Okay. All right. He'll be back in a second. It's Brad Logan. Poor guy. So much to get to. I see a question about WrestleMania in the chat. Oh, I've got thoughts on that. Need some Georges in New Albany is what Wes Harrington 2689 says. It's the best. It's not the same as it used to be. It used to be unstoppable, but it doesn't have its fastball anymore. It's like when me and my wife went and saw Britney Spears in Vegas. She didn't sing a single lyric. No Toxic, no, Oops, I Did It Again. It was all lip syncing, but still, while the fastball wasn't there, the curveball was absolutely filthy. So with George's, it doesn't have its fastball anymore, but like the strawberry biscuit, the biscuits themselves with honey, cheeseburgers, they should be paying me for this advertisement. The curveball is absolutely filthy. So a lot to come today, especially once Brad Logan gets back in here. I wanted to start with some questions very early on in the chat because a few of you want to know about, where is it? The first one. Hey, Brad, how you doing? Let's see if it sounds better. Oh, he's telling me to wait.
Okay, what about now?
I don't know. I'm not echoing.
This is my last resort. This is via Bluetooth on the Beats earphones.
Here's the great part of this. We'll have to survive this because you sound fine. No interrupting today. So I'm saying that to myself. No interrupting Brad today because I want it to sound as clear as it can. But I've got a mic waiting for you, whether that be on Saturday if we see each other for Meet the Rebels. I know you got a thing, but like I'm going to be live all day. Me and Sudu are setting up a show for Saturday. Sudu's coming on to join us to talk about spring football here shortly as everybody starts to pile in for Talk of Champions for the next hour. I don't know what your schedule looks like for this weekend, but I want
to come Saturday to be on the show if we can work it out. I've got a thing for my late father-in-law. We're honoring him Saturday morning. So when I finish that, I was going to come to Oxford. I'd love to be a part of the show.
So we're going to figure something out with Brad.
Okay.
Whenever that happens, I got a mic with your name on it. So let's cover these questions in the chat. Jump to Pete Golding. Sudu's coming up. We got so much spring football stuff to discuss. We had a Tuesday availability with not just Pete Golding, but also a couple of newcomers, Jonte Cook and Blake Purchase, two players who will absolutely contribute to Ole Miss, whether they win or lose on the football field in 2026-27. Jonte on the offensive side in the slot, and Blake Purchase off the edge on the defense. So we're going to get to that in just a minute. Real quick, BJT114, is Malik Ewing, former Ole Miss Rebel, down Arkansas Razorback, NCAA basketball transfer portal closes tonight at midnight. Is Malik Ewing, who just got in, an option for Ole Miss? I don't think so. He would be a real shot in the arm, but he also has to deal with a waiver for another year of eligibility, I think. And he's not the only one. A lot of these guys that are fringe NBA draft guys are going to declare or get into the portal. Maybe a lot of them will have a do not contact designation, but really it's a whole strategic move to keep all of their options open. Yes, you still go through the draft process, but really if you can get that waiver, then you can go anywhere you want to for whatever amount of money. It doesn't matter if the portal closed. So do I think he's an option for Ole Miss? No. Am I underwhelmed by the Ole Miss basketball portal results so far? Yes. What about you, Brad?
Yeah, I am. And, in the media availability today, there was a talk amongst the media, the James Madison transfer that's headed into Ole Miss. The numbers, they're not great. I don't pretend to know how to evaluate talent in college basketball nor how to fill a roster out. But if I told you that I was somewhat underwhelmed with how things have gone so far for men's basketball, I'd be telling you the truth. And while we're on the transfer portal, Ben, Siratinu, that's one that got into the portal with 4 hours remaining. That's tough. I have reached out to a number of people, and honestly, Ben, I haven't gotten a lot of, answers as to why Sierra, entered the portal from different folks, nor what the temperature is about the possibility of her return. I would think that Walker Jones, along with the entire basketball administrative team, is trying their best to get her back. I hope they do. She's a really good piece of this team, and I think with her, it will be really big. But those are my that's kind of what's happening in the portal from the women's side. From the men's side, kind of underwhelming so far. And so you're hoping that things will change, but not particularly excited right now.
Dior Johnson visited, and there was a real interest, pursuit shown, both sides. Ole Miss is going in a different direction. Indy Okafor committed to Ole Miss. Right now, Nico Bundalo isn't in the portal. Will he get in the portal before midnight? That's something we're keeping an eye on at the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com, and Affiliate on 3. There's been active negotiations to bring back James Scott. Patton Pinkins is a big piece. Elis Carmerdine in year 2 is a big piece. but you lost a lot. It was a 15 and 20 team. You were going to replace most of your roster anyway. But what you've replaced it with left a lot to be desired so far, and the portal closes again at midnight tonight. Here's one thing I've heard, and I'm pretty positive it's true, that Ole Miss spent like, I think, $8 million on its roster last year. $8 million this year is bottom fourth of the SEC probably. And Ole Miss people that have been paying that money to get these rosters aren't going to be paying more than that after what happened last year. So you're paying about the same rate. That could help explain why the results kind of are what they are. Not saying that you should be giving more money. Do what you want to with it, because Ole Miss was in the top, I don't know, the second tier for sure last year in terms of overall roster cost, and they went 15 and 20. So I understand both sides of that coin, but that could also help explain, or at least add context as to why Ole Miss is off to this not even slow start. The portal closes tomorrow. Like, you got to start adding pieces, right? Daniel Patton is a 2026 piece, but he's a freshman, and freshmen don't play for Chris Beard. They haven't at Ole Miss. Patton Pinkins did. Name another. And if Nico Bundalo does get into the portal, and if you maybe handicap it, I say he probably does, then that would mean of signing 4 top 100 prospects over the last 2 years, only one remains, and only one has made any type of impact, and that was Patton Pinkins. John Bowl played 17 games, but really they wanted to redshirt him. Whenever Chris Beard wants to redshirt a freshman, that should tell you everything you need to know. That kid's probably going to the portal the next offseason, and he's still got staff stuff to figure out. So it's just not a great place to be in. Gary Roscoe, 49999. Please give me your take on WrestleMania, Ben. Night 1, don't ever want to talk about it again. Night 2, there was a lot of good. Roman and Punk was an absolute banger. Penta retaining that great ladder match was absolutely perfect. I'm sick of TKO, man. TKO has absolutely ruined wrestling. I can't keep my eyes off the advertisements all over the mat. The squared circle is supposed to be sanctified, rarefied air, which you hope to get to one day. And now I'm looking, I see like the Slim Jim table, right? It's just, it takes you out of it. There's no backstage vignettes. There's no personality to it. Now, Obafemi squashing Brock Lesnar was exactly what you needed. However, it wasn't enough to make me feel like that was WrestleMania. That just felt like a Backlash is Money in the Bank is Fastlane. It's WrestleMania is supposed to feel like an event, and that just felt like a corporate nonsense. Hey, Sudu.
Okay, look,
Yeah.
I come in here.
Yep.
I come in here to some WrestleMania slander. Okay,
No.
on a weekend.
No,
on a weekend where a couple guys that I have immense respect for, Obafemi, Trick Williams,
I was getting there. I got
gold.
Oba, but like
held gold on the grandest stage of them all.
fair. It's not. You're not
What's
wrong.
up? What's up, Brad? What's going on?
Hey, did you get my email, Sudu?
I did. I'm gonna have to shorten that up a little bit, but I enjoyed.
I didn't know how many words you needed. So
no.
anyway,
It was perfect.
A little off the radar talk. So
yeah.
But yeah, the
love
question.
I hope to be a part of one day. You know?
Yeah, well, Sudu, the question was about WrestleMania, and Benjamin pointed out that night 1 was a dud, and night 2. If we had the GIF to say you totally redeemed yourself, it appears to me that Ben thinks that night 2 of WrestleMania redeemed itself.
Well,
okay.
Nothing could redeem night 1. Nothing. Night 1 was terrible.
Okay, I'm sure you've already been through it, but biggest issue with night 1.
Well, first of all, Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes have 20 years of history. They don't need Pat McAfee and Jelly Roll. Now, if Randy Orton is hurt, okay, but they had all the stories. I mean, that's Cody's mentor. They had so much to draw off of, and TKO because of crappy ticket sales, because they returned to Vegas and they've priced out the casual fan. I don't want to cover all this. We've got spring football stuff to cover here. No one's coming in here to listen to this. TKO goes, oh, well, to shove Pat McAfee in there as if he's like the perfect respite for shitty ticket sales, and that's not the case at all.
Well, Ben, you know, there's a give and take with these big corporate, leanings or connections, so to speak. And so one of the things when Vince had to sell the TKO group, I think we all knew that this kind of stuff would happen. You've seen it with the incredible amount of advertising all over the ring. And I remember, WWE fans used to make fun of other promotions for having to do that. And now that's just a part of it. And I don't disagree with you. Sorry, when I came in here, I thought you were just saying WrestleMania as a whole was bad. Night one was, yes, it was much to be desired there in night one. I honestly didn't pay too much attention to it personally because the big one was night two. And night two, I think, delivered for sure.
Happy belated birthday to Sudu Upadhyay.
Thank you, Mary.
Turned 21 yesterday. Happy birthday, buddy. What'd you do?
Did you have your first
add a
decade to that. Add a decade to that. No, actually, I didn't. I guess when you're 31, it's the opposite. I'm like moving backwards on that now. So,
yeah, did you go to bed? He went to bed at 11:58, fading as he was fading off to sleep, watching Back to the Future for the 15th time on TBS. I understand it.
I wish it was that simple.
At Trip 48 95 45. What about that guy from Southern Miss? That's Tyler Weeks. He's deciding between Ole Miss and Memphis right now. He visited Memphis most recently and visited Ole Miss last week. So that's the latest. It's one of the other, Memphis or Ole Miss. Sudu, we were talking about the disappointing portal for Chris Beard and company. What do you make of it?
Yeah, much to be desired there, Benny. That's all I can say. Much to be desired.
Thank you. You really contributed a lot to that. All right, so spring football is well on its way. Here's Pete Golding after practice today.
One more full week after this week or so. Just you feel like what you wanted to accomplish, you've accomplished this spring with how you've been kind of changing it to fit what you want this program to be?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, up to this point, we went really slow. Got the foundation on all three phases. This week, we're actually transitioning into what a game week looks like, trying to get them in those routines and understanding what it's going to look like. And then also with the new coaches, getting the feel of what game planning, what the schedule is. And then obviously we're game planning each other, which I think is really important from self-scout moving forward into the summer. So, simulating the physicality, kind of like we talked about last week in isolated scenarios to try to stay injury-free the best that we can. And then working the situation. So today was based down short yardage and goal line, which allows us to get other packages in and make sure we're using our pieces effectively.
Is there a position group that you think has shown the most growth over these last few weeks?
I think there's been several. Obviously, you've got so many new guys at so many new spots. And so obviously the more that they play, the better that they get, the more comfortable that they get. So I think the linebacker room's really come on. I think the front, the pieces that we've added are starting to really understand it. I think the receiver room's improving with every practice that we get, the understanding of the offense and being able to play fast with tempo. And so I think, a lot of multiple groups have improved.
You guys lost a lot of receivers out of that room from a year ago, draft and otherwise. What have you seen from Jonte Cook specifically in terms of how much of an impact he can make this season?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's played a bunch of football, which I think is really, really important. So when you've been in multiple systems like he has, been to 3 different schools prior to this, there's a lot of same as. We might call it red, they call it blue, but it's the same. So from a football standpoint, they come in a little ahead of the curve. But I think the tempo component of it and things like that obviously have been a transition for them. But I think those guys that have played a lot of football, it's a lot easier to come in and adapt and be able to say same as. But he's just really special with the ball in his hands. And so I think JDB and them do a good job of scheming them open or getting the ball in space as an extension of the run game. And there's some one-on-one scenarios that they like versus safeties and backers that are advantageous for us. So I think number one is experience. Number two is short area quickness, right? Rack ability, right? Ability after contact. I think he's almost like a back with the ball in his hands. And then you still got the man concept. If he's one-on-one with a safety, right, that could be a matchup problem from a vertical standpoint. So a lot of versatility in his game.
With the return of Lacey, obviously, in the running back room, who are some other players this year, specifically in the spring, that have shown some promise backing up Lacey for you?
Yeah, I think all three that we brought in, have flashed. And it's kind of like we talked about, last week. Makai's doing really well. He's got really good balance and body control and really good patience. Lets the block set up, can burst through the hole. I think, JT is just a different athlete than most of them. Probably one of the more explosive players on the team as far as top-end speed and vertical jump and all that from an explosive standpoint, and has got hands out of the backfield. So I think there's several of those guys that complement really well to Lacey, but they've all flashed at times, to be honest with you. And same thing with Shakai. I think Shakai is starting to understand it and play at the tempo that we want him to and become a little more consistent because size-speed ratio with him is different. And so he's starting to come on as well and starting to flash a little bit.
Just going to check in on the quarterback room, see how Deuce Knight is acclimating as a backup quarterback, and then any other names of that room that folks might be interested in.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very unique group, and I think they complement each other really well. I mean, obviously Trinidad coming back, and then, you have Walker Howard, who's been in the system, right, that went out of the system again and then came back, that understands exactly what we're trying to accomplish. Really smart, understands what the defense is trying to do and what to get into, what to get out of, and where to go with the football. So it's really nice to have a veteran guy in there that's been in this system, to help with Trinidad from a leadership standpoint for the young guys. I think Deuce has continued to flash, obviously a real problem in +1 runs with his size and speed, and they're doing a good job offensively creating some of those issues. So had some big runs today. I think he's getting better at delivering the football and making good decisions, which will continue to come with time. And then I think A.J. as well. You see the flashes of A.J., and then it's the consistency of playing the position, snap in and snap out. And, there's one thing about, when you start going good on good, especially up front, some of those guys that are blocking for them probably aren't going to be on Saturday, and some of those time responses don't look the same. So the evaluation of that position sometimes is a little tough based on who's at O-line, to be honest with you. So I think they're all in. I think Joe does a great job with that group, but I'd say they've all flashed. They're all continuing to get better, which they need to.
That was Pete Golding, Ole Miss head coach. This is Talk of Champions. He's Brad Logan. He's Sudu Upadhyay. That QR code above Sudu's head is for the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com. Affiliate of all three. If you sign up today as a new member, you get half off an annual subscription. So $50 for a full year to come talk about this Ole Miss stuff all day, every day at the Ole Miss Spirit, OleMissSpirit.com. Affiliate of all three. Brad, what was your biggest takeaway from spring football today?
It felt like to me that when Pete started talking about the defense, he kind of echoed what we heard on the Rebel Yell hotline. The defensive backfield needs to work a little bit more on the craft. And I think he specifically talked about Antonio Kite, how he's got to improve, made some good plays. I think he pointed out at one point today that had a couple of interceptions. So, but continue to rave about a lot of younger players. But to me, it just jumped out that we've been kind of bullish about that defense. And I think in large part, linebacker, defensive line, and the defensive backfield, he kind of pushed back a little bit on that today. I think there's more work that needs to be done on that defensive backfield. Two, I wanted to hear what he had to say about the quarterbacks. As Ben St. Cloud Posse, A.J. Maddox is an underrated dog. He can spin it. I agree. And it felt like it was more what Pete did not say than what he did say in regards to quarterback Deuce Knight. I think he anticipates him to be a running quarterback when he's put into the game. I think they're going to be packages for him. He even intimated in that clip we just heard that he's really good one-on-one, or the 1+ as he calls it in the run game, which gives him an option to run versus pass. I think he's got to improve on throwing. I think that's one thing Pete didn't talk about a lot was about his passing ability. He's got to improve, but he has said that that room is continuing to improve. I think one hidden element here that we haven't talked a lot about is the leadership role that Walker Howard is going to play in that quarterback room. He's someone that played quarterback at Ole Miss, went to Lafayette, and then came back, or University of Louisiana, and then came back. And I think he'll be a huge component. Ben Sudu, I said on this show, whenever I had a practice availability last week, that when I watched Trinidad Chambliss, he and Deuce Knight were talking a lot. When each of them were not repping, they were talking. We had 7.5 minutes, so there you go. But out of that time, I spent a lot of time watching the quarterbacks, and it was interesting to how you could tell they were going through plays and diagramming stuff, just their mannerisms and the way they were moving. So I think that's good that Trinidad's, no surprise, is having a huge leadership role in that quarterback room. But today, it was more or less, we're kind of getting at the end of spring practice. There's no spring game. There's really no team to prepare for. So he's talking a lot about self-scouting, talking about, kind of how to prepare for game weeks. But to me, it was the pushback on that defensive backfield, maybe not as being as far along as we thought.
J.D. Pickle, Ole Miss, or not Ole Miss, but On 3 national college football analyst, my friend. Now, most spring football practices have wrapped up or are wrapping up. Ole Miss still has a week after this week. So they're not done, but JD, my guy, rolls out his post-spring top 25 on Tuesday. Ole Miss came in at number 12, and his biggest concern for Ole Miss was the defense. I would point to what Ole Miss did in the portal. Luke Farelli, Keaton Thomas, the rave reviews from that, from those guys this spring. The defensive line with William Eccles in them. But Sudu, I ask you, man, what concerns you about Ole Miss? I mean, it's not just the schedule or anything like that. If you're just looking at what Ole Miss has done this spring, what you've been looking for this spring, Waylon Wayne, 32, is asking about an Edwin Joseph update. He's running or mixing in the rotation of the defensive backfield, the first and second team at strong, I think is where he's at. I don't want to misspeak. Free safety is Jonel Aguero, but he's still coming along. A lot of those guys, those transfers, it was good to be there for the spring because it's taken a little bit to get acclimated to some of the new stuff, especially getting Edwin Joseph comes from a different system at Florida State. So I haven't heard a ton about him, but we've only gotten a certain amount of time, and he's mixing in with the rotation. He's going to play. All 5 of those defensive backs in the transfer portal that they had are going to play. Sharif Denson has had a great go of it in the nickel, and again, Jonel Aguero, Jay Crawford's come on after getting beat up pretty good, not injury wise, but as far as reps wise early on in camp. But for you, Sudu, what's your hold back? Like what's keeping you from saying, or maybe you think Pick's wrong, man, that they are a top 10 team, top 8 team post spring, whatever it might be. 12 is just right, not good enough. What are you kind of on Ole Miss, and what concerns you, if anything?
Yeah, I think that's I like to come into the season with a little less hype. You know what I mean? I think I've been very clear on how I feel about this team, especially with your 2 Heisman contenders coming back. I think, I'd like to know what the depth situation is at defensive line. That kind of stands out to me. Like, you got some pass rushers from the portal that are hopefully going to do some good things, but I'm more so talking about in the middle. Is there enough depth there? With some of the guys you brought in, and you did bring in some guys. Like we've talked about how awesome it was to see Jaheim Otis listed as an Ole Miss Rebel, Ben, after all the years of recruiting coverage you've had to do with him. But what does that look like? Like, is he going to be able to step in there, and deliver? The secondary, I know we joke about Jonel Aguero, but what does that look like? We talk about, plug and play, same defense Kirby ran with people. What does that look like? Linebackers probably
twice, and you didn't interrupt once.
I gave you a little. I cracked a little smile. I didn't know if you peeped it, but
I was that would be like teeing it up.
Yeah. So I think those are. But linebacker, I'm so excited about with Farelli and Thomas there, man. I just those two were 2 of the biggest additions for that defense. I'm so excited about that. I've read some good things about Taj Butler as well. This is somebody that when he originally got brought in, I think we were like, maybe this is a depth piece thing, but hearing good things about him. So defense is where my mind goes to when you talk about concerns, and it's hey, is there enough depth in the middle of that defensive line, and is the secondary going to be are all these big names that you've brought in, are they going to deliver? Is this truly going to be a plug and play situation? I know the defense is going to be much improved from last season, but is it enough to, I guess your question was about a contender. Is it enough to make you a legitimate contender? Those are the 2 places I look at right now.
Well, Jonte Cook is one who's impressed all spring. He's working in the slot. Caden Lee's at Missouri now. Winnie Watkins is at LSU. But Jonte Cook, he comes one of 2 players to come to Ole Miss from Syracuse as a transfer. He's been impressive all spring, working in that slot and replacing Caden Lee and Winnie Watkins. And here's what he said after practice on Tuesday.
He had choices in the portal. Why Ole Miss?
Just the opportunity. Trinidad, obviously. And I just feel like the time was right, right place, right fit.
You mentioned Trinidad. Just how was that relationship when you first got here, and how have y'all kind of grown having now spring practice under your belt?
It's growing. It's growing, and it's growing fast, and it's growing great. Best quarterback in the country. Most of the time, all I got to do is catch the ball, just be in my spot and just catch the ball, and it's really that easy. Great guy, great leader, just my dog. Obviously, I watched, playoffs and all of that, and I would, see games here and there. Sometimes I would even catch them, if I had, the late game and, they had the early game or sitting in the hotel, I would see, make plays and stuff. But, just being here and, being on that timing with him, and I'm actually the receiver on the receiving end, it's kind of different, and it's for real.
You and Gil came down from Syracuse together. What's your connection like with him?
It's my dog. Been on him for a little bit over a year now. We're both Texas guys. You know, like he was really probably the only guy when I first got to Syracuse that, you know, accepted me, you know, when I first got there, just like from a, I guess like competition component or whatnot. But, you know, that's my dog. And, you know, we're just here, we're battling, and we just two dogs in the fight with each other.
Did you guys have maybe a poll for each other to come to the same school again?
Not gonna lie, no. Like, not gonna lie, like, no. Like, my impression, like, the day before Gil committed to Ole Miss, I was under the impression he was going somewhere else. And then, like, boom, he was going to Ole Miss. I said, oh, wow. And, like, I knew that I was already in talks with, you know, the coaching staff. So I was like, they probably did that on purpose.
What does Daryl bring to the table? It feels like, you know, maybe from the outsider, just reading heights and stuff, you guys could be complementary on the field together.
I think Gil, he stretches the field, big body, athletic, fast. He also can run the route tree. But more than anything, like, he's going to go get the football. You put it up, he'll come down with it more than not.
The biggest thing that stood out to me today, Brad, was when Jonte mentioned how he and Daryl Gill were not a package deal from Syracuse, man. Actually, the day before before Daryl Gill announced for Ole Miss in January 14th, he thought he was going somewhere else. And so far, Jonte was the second of the Syracuse wide receivers, and so far, he's been the most impressive of the two. He's had an absolutely stellar spring. Again, working in the slide has been an absolute catch merchant out there. Caleb Cunningham was asked about in the chat. He's been a little banged up, but he had a good start to the spring at least. So he needs to have a good spring. And Daryl Gill is an outside receiver like Deuce Alexander is an outside wide receiver. I think the vast majority of his routes, Daryl Gill's over his career, were as an outside wide receiver. So there are similarly profiled guys like Daryl Gill in this roster. There are no other guys like Jonte Cook, Brad. And that's why, to me, when you're picking out potential offensive playmakers not named Trinidad Chambliss and Keywan Lacey, I'm not sure with a week and change to go of practices that Jonte Cook wouldn't be my number 3 right now.
Well, what jumped out to me is that Jonte Cook may be the next Caden Lee. I looked up his stats, Ben, during the press conference, 45 catches last year. And he's someone that could be in the slot, could be just a ball hog, just can sit down, get the first down, get upfield, get yards after catch. I was also impressed with I always thought it was a package deal with Gil, just like you said. I did. I think everybody did. And he quickly pointed out that it was kind of a separate deal. So I think that's it was interesting to me that it was I thought he was very methodical with about a business decision, meaning he was excited for the opportunity, but he was more excited, I think, by playing with Trinidad Chambliss and walking into a wide receiver room. And Ben, I'll tell you what he said specifically. It was love at first sight. And basically what he said he meant by that was when he walked in, he immediately gravitated towards all the receivers, and they all kind of came together. I think the biggest question, Sudu and Ben, I have for this wide receiving core that I've had all offseason is going to be who's going to take up a Stribling spot. Who's going to be able? Is it going to be Dio that's going to be able to take that Deshaun Stribling spot? The guy that goes up, that got separation, that made the big catch, and was the physical receiver. I think they want Gil to be that guy. I think they want Caleb Cunningham to be somebody that can go up and get the football and be physical. Cunningham looks like he's put on some weight. When the chance I got to see him last week, looks like he looks more the part. But to me, I think Cook could be a possession guy. They will see if he's got those burners. But I was impressed with that today. But once again, I think everybody in that room is just wondering who's the next Deshaun Stribling. And if nobody is on the roster that is that next Stribling, who's going to pick up the slack?
Speaking of DeJon Stribling, I checked recent mocks for ESPN and NFL.com. Currently the only surefire projected Rebel to get drafted, and he is climbing up draft boards, I think, as high as the second round, according to ESPN. And NFL.com had him in third, or it might be the other way around. Memory might be failing me here. Either way, looking like a day 2 pick. DeJon Stribling was a great one-and-done player. We're number 1 for Ole Miss, returning that to glory, if you will. Remember Laquan Ward, Jonathan Mingo Ward. We could go through all the number 1s, man. And it lost its luster. And here comes DeJon Stribling, who I saw at spring football practice a couple of weeks ago before he went on all these pre-draft visits. And the draft is coming up this weekend. And he even said it to you. Teams have been really receptive to him and what he's done so far, and what he's really been able to do in the pre-draft process to put himself in what looks like a really great position. And that's like the main dude you're trying to replace offensively. And you got to remember, he started slow. So if guys start slow, don't jump off the train. It can take some time. It took him until I think October to really get going. But once he did, man, he was really, really good. I want to do something. I knew it was coming. Sudu. I got to get to some commercials to show my thanks. You're muted. To say my thanks to B&A Bank and, to Alan Samuels, Riverland Roofing. But Sudu, I knew I was going to get asked about this.
Yeah. Ben and I had a little we had a little like pre-show conversation earlier, and we were like, what are the odds? Like, how quickly is this going to get brought up? Is that the first mention of it, or?
That's the first mention. It took 3525 at BHAM_Reb. Ben, dying to hear you addressed Lane Kiffin's creepy post with you and your daughter at quarterback. There's a little bit more of a story to that.
Yeah,
until we do it, let's hear from our sponsors. We knew it was coming. We did. I only have myself to blame. I'll preview it with that. I only have myself to blame. Let's hear from Riverland Roofing and others. This is Talk of Champions.
Homes and businesses from the whims of nature. You need more than just quality materials. You require Riverland Roofing. Licensed, insured, and certified, Riverland Roofing offers not only the assurance of excellence, but a tailored approach to your unique structural needs and budget. To learn more about what Riverland Roofing can do for you and the community, call them at 662-644-4297 or visit riverlandroofing.com.
Hey, Rebels, your truck is here. Alan Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Oxford presents the all-new Ram Rebel. It's Ram, the Rebel way. Send an unmistakable signal. Rebel 24/7. Ram Rebel from your friend in the car business. Alan Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Oxford.
Come by, let's be friends. I'm Warrior Philip Hearn. Raising my family here in Mississippi, I've tried to teach my kids to help others. I learned that from my parents. And as a Mississippi lawyer, I want to help you too. If you're hurt in a traffic accident, 18-wheeler wreck, or have insurance trouble, call 601-720-3541. That's my cell. You call, I'll answer. Let's get started. Make your first call to the Hearn Law Firm today.
Our thanks to all of our sponsors. I'm Ben Garrett. He's Sudu Upadhyay. He's Brad Logan. The Ole Miss Spirit is the place you need to be when you're not here with us on Talk of Champions, omspirit.com. All right, here's what everybody's talking about. All right, here's the post. I want to defend Lane here. A lot of people have been asking me. We're not friends, Sudu. I don't want you to go ahead and put out that narrative. Aha, you're muted. You can't say anything. You're not. That's not what
Stop
this
it.
is.
This is you saying you're not friends is just ridiculous. You guys are buddies, bro. You're just texting each other. You're on a family trip, texting him, and like a proud uncle, he's reposting these videos.
Well, first of all, there's a
Sudu's kind of right.
Thank you,
Brad. Thank you.
Yeah, he's kind of right. Sorry about that, but yeah.
All right.
No, don't apologize to him, Brad.
First of all, I want the record to show it was a point of contention in Orange Beach of whether or not this was an overthrow or, in my opinion, Riley should have flattened her route and been stronger at the catch point. To prove that I was right, I said, I'll text Lane Kiffin. And no one believed
the
that
QB,
I would.
The QB whisperer himself. Great decision on your part.
Well, again, it's really that simple because that's what I've been trying to make very clear to everybody. Lane Kiffin is not complicated. He is he's like, this is not a dig at it, but like there's nothing below the surface. You know what I mean? He's an easy. So I texted him and I said, just like that, I thought she did this. They say she did this. What do you say? And like minutes later, said overthrow. And that was the funniest part is like, it took no time. It was like, and then he asked if he could post it. I said, I don't care. Do what you want to do. And that's where that came from. So
he called you and left you a voicemail to ask you he could post it. It was very nice of him to get your permission, since that was your kid in the video. I thought that was a very mature move from one dad to another. I appreciate that.
I want it like that. So I didn't think it was creepy. I thought it was funny though that he posted it. And LSU fans and some of them in the media, they're like, "Oh, this dude's doing like, has he got to deal with him again, Lane?" And then Lane, you son of a gun, Sudu. Then Lane says, he said, "No, he's good." And I'm like, "All right, man, you know what I mean?" Just because like it ain't that serious, but it's never like everyone wonders why, like how to figure out Lane Kiffin. It's not hard to figure out. There's just not a lot more beneath the surface.
When did y'all take this picture, by the way? That's a great photo of both of you.
I hate everything about you right now. Everything. So that's done. Sudu, Brad, y'all can say what you want to say as I get a drink of Pepsi. It was nothing. It was just nothing. And it's just, I remember everything Ole Miss Rebels, I think on Twitter was like, I have so many questions. And I was like, and another on the Ole Miss Spirit message board, Ben, are y'all friends? And I'm like, no.
Yes.
It's just, that's what, oh, well, okay. Fine.
Yes. You guys are.
Yeah, they are.
Like my boy Ole Miss fan 198824 said, y'all are buddies. Nothing wrong with it. There's nothing wrong with it. That's fine.
Okay.
Look, I love what we do, and I love talking about sports with you guys all the time. I really do. But look, we're not curing cancer. I mean, they're throwing a football on a field of grass or artificial grass and scoring touchdowns. I mean, it's not rocket science, so let's don't get too deep with it. But we do because we love it, and that's cool. But I think what's really cool in all this is nothing's going to matter on September 19th. I mean, we could all talk about everything going on, and I get all that. The kind of correspondence, the online chatter, and everything. Look, let's be honest. It's going to be wild on the 19th, and he's going to be the most hated man in that stadium for predominantly the people in that stadium, and he's going to love it.
He's earned all of it. All of it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, no, it was on a dare. I was asked and I did it, and he responded because Sudu swears we're now stepbrothers.
You are. You're best friends. I mean, it's just, he's not, like you said, he's not a complex individual as much as some of the national media members like to paint him out to be this
fundamentally
complex.
doesn't understand why he wasn't allowed to coach the playoffs. He doesn't. And like, he's like, yeah, but it's a very immature.
He's not as well at like he has trouble like processing things like that you and I might think is normal, and that's just who he is. And so but he's got a great friend in Ben, and I can't wait for that pregame handshake between the two. That's going to do numbers on social media.
Here's what I really want to know. Y'all saw the video. Sudu, was it overthrown or was I right?
It was. It could have been caught. I'm going to give Riley a pass because she's 7 years old. It could have been a better. She's 9. She's 9 years old.
She's like 3'2".
She could.
All right.
She could have.
It's not my fault that her catch radius sucks.
She could have dove. But as her father and as her quarterback that knows her limitations, you should have placed it a little bit closer to her. But it was a catchable ball.
Okay, it was a catchable ball. Brad, was it overthrown?
Yep.
You suck. Good grief. You absolutely suck. Blake Purchase was the last player that Ole Miss media got to speak with on Tuesday after practice. Here's what he had to say.
Like in the portal for you, and what made Pete Golding and Ole Miss stand out?
Yeah, in the portal, being at Oregon, I kind of got into the portal kind of late into the process, like going to the playoffs and everything. So the portal, it was like hectic, just a lot of different phone calls with people, and like just based on my first phone call with Coach Golden, like I could tell he was different. Like just his attitude, he don't sound like a normal head coach when you're talking to him. Like he just sound like just a regular guy, just that loves ball for real. So that's probably what really stuck out to me the first time I talked to him. Like after the first conversation, I basically knew it's gonna be my first visit, like coming out of the portal.
And how does this system complement your kind of play style?
Yeah, I like it a lot. On the edges, we do a lot of different things. Like we rush, drop, like literally probably everything an edge rusher can do, you're going to do in this system. So really just like putting that resume on for the league that you can do everything. Like that's what I like about it. Like to do literally everything under the sun that edge rusher going to do, you're going to do in this system, I promise. So
coming from Dan, who's a defensive-minded coach, did it help with the comfort level with Pete being he's a defensive-minded head coach at the same time?
Yeah, for sure. Like obviously, with Lanning, he was kind of like he gonna be with the defense a little more, and it's kind of the same thing over here. Like he gonna pull you to the side, get you to have little pointers and stuff that he sees. Just him being a head coach, but he's still like he a defensive minded guy. So he got a lot of different pointers and things that you'll hear Coach Golding like he'll pull me to the side, just tell me something real quick, and definitely been a great thing. Like always having like a whole bunch of different set of eyes on you every play. I feel like.
What have your impressions been of Will Eccles and Cam Franklin so far?
Nah, them boys are good for real. Like I would say I watched a whole bunch of Ole Miss games last season, so I was kind of new like coming to plays, and I'll go back and watch some film, and it's like, man, like them boys are destructive for real. Like Will and Cam, those are two big bodies, but they move well for real, and they got a good grasp of the system. They've been here for a while, so also two guys that I'm really leaning off of, like playing around them. It's gonna be a scary room for real.
I think Blake Purchase is going to be an absolute stud. First, before we jump to it, I hate you, Sudu. You look what you've created. Dennis Dotson, 6'2", I see why Ben is so emotional about Lane leaving. He loves him, like really loves him.
You know what's funny is he doesn't. And it's when I say I think they're friends, guys, I'm not joking. Like I genuinely believe that Lane sees Ben as a friend. And I think Ben has gotten to the point now where you got to embrace it, man. Like I have buddies like that who I used to just not like, but somebody else would always bring them around, or they'd always insert themselves into the room or whatever, party or whatever. And eventually I became best friends with them. That's you and Lane. It's the unlikely friendship.
I like it better that I was like Paul Heyman. However I'm Paul Heyman, and that is the best thing there. Being the wise man. I'd much prefer that. All right. Blake Purchase is going to be an absolute stud, Brad. And that one, Sudu was talking about depth earlier. And one of the things that concerned him, the defensive line depth. Well, in the interior, Ole Miss is about 3 deep. At edge, especially on the strong side, that's where you have some question marks. Can a Jaheim Otis, if he needs to kick out? Jordan Renaud, is he healthy enough? He's still on the injury list right now. Probably going to sit out for the spring, but there shouldn't be any limitations come the summer and then the fall. Maybe he's the guy that replaces Cam Franklin. Cam Franklin at 6'5", 6'4", 6'5", 315 comes out. That might be a question mark. But Blake
that is more so what I was relating to is with Eccles and Franklin having to leave the game. Like you have bodies, but what do you really have is more so what I meant.
Yeah. So like we'll see. Micah Borio needs to lose about 15 pounds. I still heard from Harry Harrison, who's seen more practice than anybody. That's not essential personnel over there at the Manning Center, Brad. But if you had to pick outside of the obvious, William Eccles, Centarian Perkins, pick your guy, your returning guy, Cam Franklin. Blake Purchase, like a Jonte Cook behind Trinidad and Keewan. If you're talking about newcomers that can make impact or have impact, Blake Purchase is up there.
He's up there. He's up there with Maldonado. And Purchase talked specifically about Centarian Perkins, about how much of a leader he is. What I like about Purchase is he's been in the system of Dan Lanning last year. I mean, he was a great component of that Oregon defense. He's out of Colorado, and he was actually asked, I don't know if we'll hear this or not, but about coming to play down in the South and just kind of how he watched this Ole Miss team. And more importantly, we came on this recruiting trip. And once again, we may hear this in a moment. Forgive me if we hear it twice. But the play from the Miami game was playing at the end of the game, and it was played over and over. And people were watching that because people understood that are on this team that was a huge play that ended the game when Ole Miss was 1 or 2 plays away from playing in a national championship. So you like that, knowing that you're walking into a situation to where this team is ready to roll. And here's another name, and we've already talked about him, Jaheim Otis. And when Pete Golding didn't specifically talk about Jaheim Otis today, but he has a couple of weeks ago, he's a player to where, in Pete's words, you've got this amount of eligibility, this is your last shot. Are you a good player or you are an average player? If you're a good player, you understand, this is the last year I have to be a college football player and a big-time college football player. So I really believe Otis is going to give Ole Miss some minutes this year. I truly believe that. You got Jam Brown, and here a name we haven't mentioned a lot about is Cameron Beavers. I mean, this is a year where Beavers needs to take a step forward, because if not, then you've got Maldonado, Purchase, Perkins. I am also equally worried. I mean, Jordan Renaud, he needs to be healthy, guys. He does. I mean, they need some help in that interior line. Andrew Maddox, this is a year where he could give a couple of minutes. Outside of Franklin, Micah Burrow, like Harry says, got to drop some pounds. So, but I do like, from Purchase, I like Purchase, Maldonado, Perkins. The edge is going to be okay. And let's be honest, Womack did not give Ole Miss the minutes that they anticipated them getting this year. He was someone that came in pretty decorated, But if you listen to the tea leaves, LSU fans were saying all along they weren't crying in their cereal that he was gone. So I think if you kind of listened a little bit, you would have understood that Womack, maybe not the player we thought he was coming in. That proved to be true. So, Maldonado purchase hopefully can pick up the slack of Umami Allen, who headed off to LSU.
Well said. All right, so this is what I want to do to wrap this thing up. It might take a second, so we got to roll through it. All right, I want to do your ideal Ole Miss with the current roster as it is. I'll let Sudu go first, then Brad, then me. I'm going to do back-to-back, then go all back around Sudu, then you would go back-to-back, like a typical snake draft. The best 3-on-3 team of Ole Miss's current roster you can put together. 3 on offense, 3 on defense. I don't care how you pick them. I just want y'all to know that y'all are going to get whooped. All right? It's very simple. So, Sudu, I figure you're going to pick your Trinidaddy. That's been your dude. And if you do that, I'm ready for it. So, with the very first pick of the 3-on-3 matchup between Sudu, Ben, and Brad, Sudu's picking who?
I'm going to pick. So we're doing 3 offensive, 3 defensive guys. Is that right?
And you can select them however you win and whenever you want to select them, right? Okay. Because, you got to remember, who's to say you can't play some defensive players on offense? That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
You're going to have to on 3-on-3.
Well, you already called it. I mean, top overall pick is going to be Trinidad Chambliss.
What was that?
Trinidad Chambliss. Come on, baby. Hey.
We like the remix.
I was vibing to it.
Yeah.
I was vibing to it.
Just nothing beats the OG, though. You know what I mean? Listen to that thing.
No. Can't touch it.
The only problem is that it's still AI slop. All right, so the first pick goes to Trinidad Chambliss with the Sudu Snakes. What about you, Brad's Barons? Who do you got with the number 2 pick?
In the second pick of the Talk of Champions draft, Brad Logan selects running back Kewan Lacey for Ole Miss.
What a surprise.
Shocker.
What a surprise.
All right, well,
Huge
I get
surprise.
back-to-backs again as the third pick, and then we'll go back to Brad, then to Sudu for back-to-back. So far, 3-on-3. Sudu's got Trinidad. I hope you're keeping count of this, Sudu. I'm not. You're the minutes keeper in the meetings and stuff. You know what I mean?
Okay. I can do that.
I'm an idea man. Brad's over there just trying to fight for his audio life, so we need you to document exactly. All right, so with the third and fourth picks of the draft, number 1, I'm picking Centarian Perkins, and number 2, Jonte Cook.
Wow. You're letting that media availability get to your head, huh?
A little bit.
One press conference.
A little bit.
Top
But see,
pick.
here's the thing. Me and Brad are the only 2 that have to get quarterbacks now. And Centarian was that dude in high school. And we're just playing 3-on-3. And I need
If
that
only there was another 5-star quarterback on that roster that you.
Well, now you're messing with my strategy.
Really, the only 5-star quarterback on that roster who was not selected by anybody so far.
Okay, Brad, your pick.
My pick will be defensive tackle from Houston, Mississippi, Will Eccles, maybe the best defensive lineman in the SEC.
Maybe in 3-on-3 in this Ole Miss roster 3-on-3 pick on between Ben, Brad, and Sudu could be your quarterback. That dude's got that kind of athleticism. We'll see if he comes back around and picks his quarterback before Ben goes back-to-back again. Sudu, back-to-back picks for you. You got Trinidad on your roster. Who you got now?
Ooh, man. Well, you gotta pair him up with someone, huh? You already took Jonte Cook. I'm gonna go Deuce Alexander.
I knew it. You suck.
Yeah. Hey, come on. You gave me the first
I
pick.
use Jonte because I need Jonte to be maybe a running back. Maybe like Deuce is not that kind of guy. All right. So, but like as far as the duo so far, you got Deuce, man. That's pretty salty.
So am I back? You said I'm back to back here?
Yep.
Boy, we got to go defense, huh?
Yeah. Remember, you got to stop somebody too.
Yeah.
But there are 2 guys right now that are just staring you in the 3 guys staring you in the face. Sudu's
I got my
end up with the best picks.
I got my quarterback on offense. Let me go ahead and get my quarterback on defense. I'm gonna drop a text to a gentleman who is sitting in class at the moment. Luke Farrelly. Come on through.
All right, Brad.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to offense, and I'm going to pick the heir apparent to Deshaun Stribling and go with transfer wide receiver Darrell Gill Jr.
Well, folks, I'm excited about my next back-to-back picks because this is where you separate the good from the great. First will be Keaton Thomas. Write it down, please and thank you. He can play all over. And, buddy, when you talk about effort and leadership, nobody's got it better than one Keaton Thomas. Now the question is, Do I go wide receiver again? Do I go a defensive secondary player that might contribute in an offensive way? Or do I go for Deuce Knight? And that's where I say, give me the trigger man, Deuce Knight. If Brad is the Barons, Sudu's the Snakes. It's like the old legends of the Hidden Temple, right? Sudu Snakes, like the Silver Snake, the Shrine of the Silver Monkey, right? Ben's, I don't know what I want to be, Sudu. What am I going to be? Ben's Bluebirds,
Yeah.
Ben's Baboons. I like Ben's Baboons. I think you're sleeping on your boys. All right, Brad's Barons. Your next pick, Sam.
I'm gonna
the best teams in the league.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay on the defensive side of the ball, and I'm gonna take linebacker Keaton Thomas, redshirt senior.
Already did that. That was one of my two on the Snake.
I'm not appreciative of that, Ben. I was looking forward to having the young man on my team.
He had already made up in his mind he was taking Keaton Thomas. He didn't even listen to you, dude.
No, it was.
Yeah.
I know he didn't even listen to my whole dang rash down. Now, I don't disagree with Jimmy T4821 in the chat, who says somebody needs to pull up the daggum kicker, Mr. Lucas Quinero, who's probably the Lou Groza Award favorite in the preseason. However, he's available to you. However, Keaton Thomas is not. Sudu, will you?
We're going for two, Ben. We're going for two, and we're going for four on fourth down. So I'm going to roll the dice a little bit and go with Janelle Aguero, the free safety, senior transfer. And I'm going to make a difference in the secondary this year, ladies and gentlemen.
Yikes.
I'm not going to lie to you. I feel
I'm about
like
to be airing it out on Brad, bro. I'm about to be airing it out on Brad.
I cannot wait for Janelle Aguero to have a monster interception against LSU to win the game. That Monday, when Sudu comes on, is going to be quite the Monday because we're just going to play it on a loop. I'm going to play it on a
very
loop.
Clear. No one is rooting for him more than me. Let me just say.
Oh my gosh.
Get that out of the way.
It's like saying, "Hey, look, I need to talk to you about something. I'm very grateful of our friendship."
But I've been rooting for Janelle Aguero since he stepped on a campus to play college football.
It's like the whole. I say this with all due respect, and I mean all due respect.
All due respect.
All due respect.
That's a terrible pick. All right, let's go next.
All right, Janelle Aguero for Brad's Barons. Now for Sudu Snakes.
All right, so I got two. I got two picks. Am I gonna? Oh wow, 2 picks back to back.
Zip.
All right, man. Let me pull up this depth chart here. We got Deuce and Trini on offense.
Sick.
I'm gonna go with. Oh, I guess nobody's taking offensive linemen, huh?
Well, it's 3-on-3. I mean, no disrespect. I mean, if you want to.
So, like, Will Eccles is not playing defensive line in this.
Well, I mean, I don't know what the rules are. I threw this together as we were talking on this podcast. All right, stop thinking about the logistics.
I'm gonna go
world for like. And you lost your sense of immersion because
and
this is me, because the ball you can take it off the track and roll under the dinosaurs. That makes no sense.
Right.
First
all right, here we go. Back to back.
Right,
back to back right here. I'm actually gonna take my next pick. I'm gonna go with Jay Crawford. So Jay Crawford.
We're doing a 3-on-3 draft. Will Jones just got here. What in the world are the boys doing? You've heard from Pete Golden here on Talk of Champions. You've heard from Blake Purchase. You've heard from Jonte Cook. We've talked all about spring football. And as we close this hour out here on Talk of Champions, powered as always by Riverland Roofing, 662-644-4297. RiverlandRoofing.com. We are doing a 3-on-3 draft of the current Ole Miss roster. Doing a typical snake draft. Sudu got the first pick. He took Trinidad. And we'll read the rosters in a second, and you tell us who would win in this hypothetical 3-on-3 based off of the spring practice info and intel we've been providing here and at the Ole Miss Spirit, which is the QR code above Sudu's head. Sign up today. Scan that QR code. Sign up today for half off an annual sub. That's what we're doing, my friend. That's what we're doing.
So I actually –
Jimmy's like, who got Perkins? I got Perkins. Perkins is on mine. Sudu will have the final team in a second. All right, your next picks.
So actually turns out I have one more. So I just took Jay Crawford. Now I'm going to take Mekhi Frazier for my final offensive pick.
Wow.
Yeah. So offense is Chambliss, Alexander, Mekhi. So far on defense, I got Luke Farrelly and Jay Crawford. We got one more left. Go ahead, fellas.
Again, Pritchard in the chat. I've got Suntaran Perkins. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Sudu, you wrote it down, right? Suntaran was one of my first picks.
Yeah, so far, Benny, you got Sonny P, Keaton Thomas, Jonte Cook, Deuce Alexander. 2 more left.
No, I know how Deuce Alexander.
What did I say?
Knight.
Deuce Knight, my bad. My
You
bad.
have
It's
Deuce Alexander.
I had
with
Deuce
20.
Alexander.
Yeah.
I didn't even write a last name. I just wrote Deuce.
Brad, your final pick is who?
My final pick today is a very versatile player. Could play offense or defense. He could play stand-up slot receiver. He could put his hand in the dirt and be a tight end. And quite frankly, one of the best athletes on the team. My pick goes to tight end, split end, Caleb Odom.
Dang. See,
Brad, don't you have another defensive player left? I got Eccles and Jonell for you. Did I miss somebody?
He doesn't even remember his own team.
I'm looking at my list here. I don't have an option to pick another team, another player on defense. I need one more player on defense, so I'll go after Ben to round mine out.
Okay. Dude, that's what I was making sure of. Got it.
All right, so actually, Sudu, you have one pick left too, because I go back to
I
back
do.
here, and then
I
it's
do.
Brad, and then it's you. All right, this is important. These are my
Right.
final two picks, right?
Yeah.
Make sure the math is mathing, friend.
I got you. 2 picks.
3 on
one
3.
defense, 1 offense.
6 apiece, 18 in total. Yeah. I really like Caleb Odom was going to be the first one off my lips, man. You stole him from me, you son of a gun. Hey, let's pull up as I think this through real quick. Brad, set the table because Ole Miss and Murray State are playing in the midweek right now.
Yeah, let's get a score update brought to you by our good friends at Allen Samuels Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram, your go-to spot for the perfect Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram. In the bottom half of the second inning, no score between Murray State and Ole Miss.
There it is. Your Ole Miss Rebels who've won 11 of 12. Is that right? Or 11 and 2 in their last 13. Last 13. I know that to be true. All right, back-to-back picks. Cam Franklin, put him on there, put him on the board. He's a freak athlete. He deserves to be on there. I've got my quarterback. I got Jonte playing some defense, man. I got Cam. Somebody, Ben saying Clown Posse saying take Blake Purchase. I think I'm going to go. Oh man, because he can play everywhere. Doesn't matter if it's wide receiver. Doesn't matter if it's
Don't do it.
corner, safety.
Don't do
I'm
it.
going Sharif Denson, please and thank you.
Oh.
Sharif Denson.
So you're gonna have okay. So wait, you're playing
three defense, Dakota. We the math wasn't supposed to be mathing so
Yeah.
badly.
So
I have one more pick
defensive
on
guys
defense.
is playing on offense, Ben. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. Like
Okay.
you got to remember, like they're like you can have some guys playing both ways.
Okay. All right.
We're supposed to have.
All right, I have
6
one last pick.
So do I have 6 on mine?
You have 6.
All right, we're done. Brad.
I have one last pick, and this is a bit of a a pick that everybody's not going to like, and that's cool. But I really feel like this player is going to have a huge season. I'm rolling the dice for Nickelback, number 31 on the field, but number 1 in our heart.
Yep.
Ladarian Squirrel Clardy.
I like that one. That's really good. Been trying to get Squirrel on the podcast. He's kind of gone dark on me in the Twitter DM, so we'll try that one again. Yeah, that's a really good. He can go both ways.
All right. I guess that leaves me with the final pick.
And Sudu has no idea. You know, if Jonell Aguero was on the board, man, he'd be scooping him up so fast.
I'm
man.
so ready for him to blow up this year.
I
Oh my
hope he's
gosh.
a Patrick Kudus because, like, dude, when Patrick
Suda's going to
started-
block my phone number.
No, I promise you. I've been rooting for him to be good for a long time. I hope it's in Oxford, not in Athens.
Well,
it's
when
definitely not gonna be in Athens that
Patrick
time.
Kudus
It's fast.
started slow, one person stood tall and said he's getting better, and he's getting better and better every single week. Brad, let other people gas you up, like humble. No, be humble here. Be modest. Okay, no humble. Like my guys used to say during the Braves World Series run. No humble. No humble. All right, no humble. Brad called Patrick Kudus. Maybe he's calling Jonell Aguero this time. What a rub it in Sudu's face that would be.
Mm-hmm. It would be.
He's not buying it at all.
I really am hoping it works because we need it to work. My final pick.
One more pick for Sudu. We got to round it up, boys.
Yep.
Yeah, I've got a 6'6", 230-pound edge rusher who I've been singing praises of since he committed to Ole Miss. So it's only right that I select Jonathan Maldonado with my final pick.
Oh, well done. All right, he could be a freak. So rattle off the teams, and then everybody decides who won. All right, Sudu Snakes is?
All right, we've got Trinidad Chambliss, Deuce Alexander, Mekhi Frazier, Luke Farrelly, Jay Crawford, Jonathan Maldonado.
Biggest reach there was Frazier, probably. I don't know. That's an interesting pick by Sudu Stakes. All right, Brad Logan's Brad Barron.
Reach. I think he's going to be a monster.
All right,
go ahead, Brad. All right, Brad. So for Brad,
Sudu's got him.
We've got Keywan Lacey, Daryl Gill Jr., Caleb Odom, Will Eccles, Jonel Aguero, LaDarian Clardy.
Who's throwing
that's the winner.
Keywan Lacey.
We're running the wild Razorback with the wild hog.
Yeah.
With Squirrel. We're running the wild hog with Squirrel, and also Keywan Lacey's going to run the wild hog too. Brandon Bolden could do it. Why can't Keywan Lacey do it?
Dang right, Brad. And then read the winner circle. From the winner circle, Ben's Barracudas. I changed it. Ben's Barracudas. Listen to this.
For Benjamin's team, we've got Jonte Cook, Deuce Knight, Sharif Denson, Cam Franklin, Centarian Perkins, and Keaton Thomas.
That's the losing team. Yeah.
Ball game.
The Wild Rebel going to run wild on you.
Oh, I know. All right. Objectively, you can't pick your own team. Sudu, who had the best team?
Chambliss, Deuce, Mackay, Luke.
You can pick your own team. Just objectively now.
I think I have to go with your team if I'm not going to go with my team. You've got, you did kind of what I did. You got a talented QB, and then you filled in the rest of the pieces. I think my biggest criticism for Brad would be, the true trigger man is missing there. Although I have a feeling Keywan might have an arm on him.
Look, Sudu, you got the best team, okay? We don't have to. Let's just stop beating around the bush here.
Like 3 in the chat, the 3 that have responded in the chat so far about
everybody's saying Sudu.
Really?
But that's because he got the first pick. I just want you to know, I made you think, at least give pause, picking from the 3 spot. I would take Team Barracudas against them Snakes all day, and we would wreck y'all. We would wreck y'all. And 3-on-3, stop.
Ben,
so
I've got
Walker Howard, AJ Maddox. I mean, who else am I picking at quarterback? You've already got Deuce, and I
would go Walker Howard, man. I think Walker Howard would be a baller
in a
3-on-3.
Like, did you see him against Air in the at the Ole Miss draft combine? Come on now,
on now. Yeah,
we all make mistakes in life, gentlemen, and obviously made a mistake in the draft by not taking a quarterback. Okay, I've gathered that. So the chat is telling me that I'm a moron, and that's cool.
But here's
Ben,
the bottom line.
I'm just gonna say, I mean, if it is a 3-on-3 between you and me, I've got Jay Crawford who's locking whoever you got down. Sharif Denson against
I'm just saying that September 19th is going to hit like crack when Janelle Aguero 2 picks, 4 solos, and 2 pass breakups. Everybody's going to be that Brad,
on this podcast, man. Get him on this podcast tomorrow.
Hey, how did he do against Ole Miss in Athens last year? I'm curious.
I have no idea
if anyone remembers that one.
The only reason everybody's picking Sudu is because he's on Island Time.
You already know it, man.
He had 22 tackles, 39 total tackles last year, half of a sack and 1 interception. He's going to smoke it this year at Ole Miss.
I just want y'all to know, if I had not gone Deuce Knight, even if I didn't have a trigger man, I have all the best athletes on the field. All of them.
That's not true.
All of them. Okay.
Buddy,
I'd
put Trinidad on Jonte, bro. If it wasn't, I wouldn't even have to put Jay Crawford on him.
Man, listen.
Because I know all about crack.
It'd be speed for speed right there, man.
Bye, everybody. Bye, Brad. Bye, Sudu. This has been Talk of Champions.
Hey, go Spurs, go, baby. Hey, everybody lock in for the future NBA champs tonight.
Riverland Roofing right here on the hat. God is good. See you.